Hello, everyone. On behalf of Women Peace Network and everyone involved in organizing this panel, I'm delighted to welcome you to Myanmar Insights, Violence Against Women Amid the Coup. My name is Anjali Mohan. I am currently a senior legal advisor for Women Peace Network and a PhD student in political science at the University of Chicago. I first became involved with Women Peace Network in 2014 while I was living in Yangon. During my 4 years in Burma, I worked to support a number of local human rights and legal reform initiatives and served as country director for the organization Justice Space from 2016 to 2018. Some of the most meaningful and at times heartbreaking work I did was with Women Peace Network, and that is work that I feel grateful to get to continue to do today. Women Peace Network is a Yangon-based civil society organization that has been working on human rights, peace building, and promoting democratic awareness among young people in Myanmar for 7 years. What I find really remarkable about Women Peace Network is its ability to do both the on-the-ground education and organizing, as well as international advocacy with foreign governments, INGOs, and the media. Women Peace Network uses its extensive platform and network to call for justice and accountability for violence against women, related to the persecution of the Rohingya and abuses against all communities within Myanmar. Its activities in Burma include English classes, human rights trainings, and initiatives such as the My Friend campaign for greater tolerance and inclusion. This programming brings together people from diverse backgrounds and gives them an opportunity to see each other outside of the stereotypes perpetrated in society, and often to work together for democracy and human rights in Burma. As we will talk more about today, I am in awe of the amazing leaders who have put together the various movements against the coup in Myanmar, and I am just so proud of so many of those leaders, especially the ones that we knew who were working with Women Peace Network initiatives. As you all know, the February 1st coup by the Tatmadaw in Myanmar was a jolting event for all of us who are concerned with Myanmar, and it's provoked an incredible response all over the country against the military and in favor of democracy. The response by security forces has been brutal. According to AAPP, at least 451 people have been killed and over 2,500 have been arrested. Since the February 1st coup, Women Peace Network has been working closely with partners and their network inside and outside the country to support efforts for democracy within the country. Women Peace Network has also been tirelessly engaging in advocacy internationally and recently directed 2 open letters to the UN Security Council, one along with 159 Myanmar civil society organizations and another with over 180 global organizations working on women's issues and women's rights. In these letters, Women Peace Network and its co-signees have asked the UN Security Council to deny recognition to the military junta, to impose a comprehensive global arms embargo on Burma and Myanmar, to dispatch an intervention mission to Myanmar, to impose targeted economic sanctions, and to refer to the situation of Burma and Myanmar to the International Criminal Court. The panel today is meant to highlight some of the amazing women leaders currently working to promote democracy, human rights, and accountability for atrocities committed by the Myanmar security forces against women and all the people of Myanmar. We are so excited to learn from all of the panelists and all of our speakers here today. I am also delighted to introduce the moderator of today's event, Wei Wei New, my friend and also a former political prisoner and the founder and executive director of the Women Peace Network in Myanmar. She spent 7 years as a political prisoner in Burma, and following her release has dedicated herself wholeheartedly to working for democracy and human rights. She studied law in Myanmar and received her master's degree in law from the University of Berkeley. She has served as a visiting scholar with the Human Rights Center at Berkeley and the University of Michigan Center for the Education of Women. Recently, Wei Wei has served as a fellow at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Wei Wei and thank you all again for your attendance and participation.
Thank you very much, Anjali, for your warm welcome and introductions. Good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever you are tuning in from. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to honor the fallen heroes of Myanmar. Today is a very sad day for many of us, including all of us in the panel. We lost our very dear friend, Coup, who is the leader of Women's for Justice in Myanmar, a women's rights champion who have been working on promoting and protecting of women's rights, sexual violence, and justice and accountability. She was shot by the military with impunity, like at least 150 civilians who lost their life by the junta's brutal forces. Let us now take a moment of silence for those who were murdered for calling for democracy and human rights in Myanmar and across the world today. I will urge you to take a moment of silence for about 30 seconds and we'll be back soon. Thank you. Thank you. I hope I can think of these brave heroes throughout and beyond our sessions to discussions today, and justice must be served for all of them. Now it is my honor to moderate this panel, and I'm delighted to introduce you some incredible women leaders from Myanmar. Today I'm joined by Ma AMT, Esther Zino, and Ma Mone Lee. Our last speaker, Ma Nomeu, unfortunately not able to join today due to some emergency situation. Before we begin, I also want to provide a housekeeping note here. We will have a discussions for about 30 minutes, questions and answer type, and then you will be allowed to ask questions. Audience will be allowed to ask questions. Please use Q&A functions located at the bottom center of your screen to type in your questions at any time throughout the program to reach the moderator. Then after our conversations with the panelists, with the speakers, we will get as many questions as possible and we will answer within as many questions as possible within our allocated time. Without further ado, I would like to start kicking off the first question to Esther. Esther Zino is a Kachin youth from Northern Shan Hilly region in Myanmar. In 2012, she started her peace activist journey with Kachin Peace Network and co-founder and she's also the co-founder of Candle Library Foundation. She is one of the coordinator of Kachin Youth Policy Working Team and executive member of Revolutionary Democratic Vanguard, and one of the coordinator of Kachin National Ethnic Youth Alliance. Esther, you have been activist and now, since February 1st, you have become a pro-democracy protest leader. You are one of the first who came out on the street with your friend Ethan Zamao and others to protest against the military a few days after coup. So could you tell us why it is important for you to take such initiative And also, if you could speak us about the role of women that including the women from the labor community are playing in this movement, and what challenges have you faced so far?
Hello, nice to meet you all. And yeah, we ethnic people are very used to the civil conflict since we were young. And because of the consequences of civil conflicts, such as drugs, illegal trading, and other social problems, my parents chose to raise us most of our childhood times in Yangon. So I didn't know the real scenarios of our the people from ethnic region. But when I was young, but the resumed conflict in Kachin region, such as Kachin state, the northern part of Myanmar, and the northern part of Shan state, changed my perspectives. And when the civil conflicts was happened in my place, I was a second-year student. And as soon as the war happened, I learn about the cases, and I feel that everyone has their right to born free, live free, and die free. But the civil wars are, civil wars and the people, the juntas are creating the dark future of our people. So no one must have the opportunities to oppress others. That is what I thought at the time when I was 17 years old, and then I changed my major study from fine arts major to social studies in order to help in humanitarian issues for my people. So that was the studying time. So since then, since 2011, I started my, I become a humanitarian activist, and then throughout this time, I become noticed more and more that humanitarian, the root cause of the humanitarian issues is the political problems, and the political problem has their history, and those history was created by the single actor, the military. So and the current roadmap, the 2008 constitution is written by those military junta. So that is why I saw that we have to abolish the 2008 constitution, and it is a must because it is the roadmap of the military, Myanmar military. So I become a democratic activist when I realized that, and I always speak out to abolish the 2008 constitution. And also the second thing is to abolish the dictatorship. And we use dictatorship, not only military dictatorship here, because when the Aung San Suu Kyi came out, become a government in 2014, we really expect them, 2016, sorry, we really expect them as to speak out for the ethnic people, which the military didn't do for us. And yeah, so we do really have an expectation on NLD and Aung San Suu Kyi, but it didn't happen, and the things become worse. Worse mean like military also already created the problems, and also the NLD and Aung San Suu Kyi joining. So that is why we become, speak out for to abolish the dictatorship since then. And when we speak out for that, my first journey was become from my perspective, like I want to help my people and those people from my region, and then my scope become wider because it cannot be done, or it cannot be focused on which are directly related to you, because you live in the community and when the community is not focused on the principles, those will also affect you. So when I realized about that, I also speak out for the Rohingya issue and the Rakhine issues too. So why I joined in this movement is like not because not because I support the NLD, but it is directly related to which we have been working for. So the first thing is to abolish the 2008 constitution, and which is directly related to the scenario with happening here, the military coup. And the military coup was happened because the country is still using the 2008 constitution, which is the roadmap of military. And if this 2008 constitution is still alive, these things will happen again and again. So we have to take off this root cause, and that is what we speak out on the very first day of our movement, on 6th February. And then the second thing is to abolish the dictatorship. And then the third thing is to construct the federal democratic union together with the ethnic people and all the other ethnic people across Myanmar. And then the fourth one is federal army, because we are fight the government is, and we are fighting the organization which has a military power. So we cannot speak only with the political power, political agenda, because yeah, right now it is the power vacuum is happening, and to fulfill the power vacuum, we also need the armed struggle, which is already available in the ethnic areas, and this is what we have to fight together to abolish the military, the Burmese military. So that was our idea, and I started campaigning since February 2nd, that we all need to support this. Support this means fight together in this movement, because and someone doesn't need to be an NLD supporter if he or she wants to join this movement, because this military coup affect everyone. And the military Kindle will not left the single area or single people as he or she does not support the NLD. So the first thing is we doesn't need to be an NLD supporter, so that we started this movement. And also the second thing is the principles we came out, and also the root cause of this military coup is directly related to what we are speaking out for, and that is why we joined this movement and we started this movement. So when we moved back to the first day of the movement, I have some I want to tell some stories, like on when the military coup happened in 1st February, I was burning the midnight oil at that time, and I didn't sleep at early on that day, so I just checked out the Facebook page, my Facebook, and then I realized that something is happening. Something important and urgent is happening, because I have many friends from political fields, so some of their fathers and also their relatives are being and I saw those news, and then I contact with my friends from Mandalay, and they said that they are going to do a CDM movement, and do something in Yangon to support the CDM, because CDM is must be the only way to to stop the change of the government system. So my friends called me, and then we discussed, and then we were also being trapped in the in some of the rumors, like we cannot go out or something will happen, or the 60 days, 90 hours rumors was happened at the time. And then that is why we started our movement only at 6th February. And then since then, we continuously organize the movement until today. And during the movement, and also in our movement, there are also women leaders from the labor community, and when I found what I found out is women are more brave, brave when they have to speak out in front of the people, and women are more, become more aggressive, because we know that, okay, so I can say that women are playing the major, one of the main, we can say the major role in this movement, because when I speak with the other movement communities, many of the leaders are also women, and yes, the challenges we have faced is, on the other hand, being a young and women and ethnic young woman is still being a challenge when we speak to the other communities, and also the people, because like for example we did a speech in the middle of the town, in the middle of Yangon, and then we have to get on the bus, and when at the time we were doing a speech, and one of the men told us that just come down, because we have to get on. Actually, they also can climb up to the car together with us, but what he said was, "You are women and I'm men," So that kind of thing is still ongoing, and I feel like very how to say so we didn't get off from the car, and refused to get off from the car, because it is nonsense, and we think it is nonsense, and that kind of reactions are still happening when we lead the movement.
Thank you very much, Esther, for sharing your insights and your stories, your thoughts on this movement. We salute you. We respect you guys for doing this work, for consistently going out on the street and to show your resistance for about two months now. So now I would like to invite our second speaker to provide her thoughts on the current situations. So our second speaker is AMT. She due to the high security, we are only using a pseudonym for her and abbreviations her name. So just keep in mind that AMT is an advocate, a lawyer, a human rights activist in Myanmar. She's also working as a legal advisor and specialist on women and land and natural resources issues in different NGOs in Myanmar and in her region, the Way area. Currently, she is joining General Strike Committee of Nationalities as a representative of the Dawei ethnic movement, Dawei Sitjang. So we would like to ask her, as she is a lawyer, we actually wanted to have two questions to her. The reason that she joined this movement, and the visions of the GSEN, and we wanted to ask that questions too, but due to the limited time, we are going to the second questions that we have for her, which is the situations around detainees and protesters. So AMT, we have been hearing thousands of peaceful protesters have been detained, including hundreds of young women, and we are also hearing the allegations of sexual assault against female detainees and rape, threat, and online harassment, online and offline threats against the female protesters for the use of sexual violence by the soldiers. And yeah, can you speak to what are you observing in this movement, and such as including this rape allegations, sexual assault, and prison conditions, treatment of prisoners, lack of due procedures, and so on. So, what are the trends you are observing in how the military is treating protesters and activists, particularly against women and minorities? I'm also aware that you are on the ground now. You are just out for the protest today. So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. What are you seeing, and how are you dealing with it?
Yeah, hello everyone.
Hi.
I do want to apologize that I cannot show my video and I cannot show my identity, that who I am and where I am in. Yeah. Related with the Maui question, that when I present the case calling movement, I saw many of the right violation in assaulted and harassed every day start from February 1. But this harass and the violation of the right is not happening from February 1. It's happening for a long time ago in Myanmar. But now what happening that they also happening in the town like Yangon, Mandalay, and everywhere. And before February 1, they also already conduct that kind of violation in the remote area. They cannot do in Yangon, like Mandalay, in the Bay City. But currently they do in the public space in like everywhere, like in Yangon, in Mandalay, in every city. So in front of a lot of people. So what kind of violation they do, you all can see in the so many of live video, in the Facebook post, in the Twitter page, because the Myanmar people, they want to show what is happening. The military and the soldier, they already conduct in the remote area, but the people from the remote area, they cannot show that. They don't have the internet access. They don't have the mobile phone, so they cannot take that kind of evidence. Very recently, when the violation happened, they cannot take video and they cannot upload. They just a lot of people in activate. They also make the evidence in the result, and then they say, but the urban people, they like, it is not their affair. It is not like it is not, will not happen in the town. Very previous time, the Myanmar people thought like that, but now it's also happening in the town, like in the big city like Yangon, Mandalay. So when the military and the police, when they arrest the people, especially when they arrest the women in the gate, they need to arrest by the police women, and then the soldier, they cannot touch the people when they want to arrest and arrest. So sorry, quite nice. Yeah, they cannot touch the girl in the woman, but now they also have to the girl on the road in front of many people. They also can see. And then when they arrest to the people, they just put to the arrest gay in the arrest, white arrest people, and with many of how to say, they arrest so many people, so they cannot following the procedure in the right procedure in the like in the law. They just do the violation in front of the people, so they also do like that. But when they after they detain the people, they need to also the people also need had a lot of the legal rights. But when the lawyer present to those people, the lawyer don't have right to meet with the client. That also happening until now. And other thing that when I had one case that the two young women, when the military came to the two young women house, they want to arrest their mother because their mother is an NLD supporter. So they want to arrest that mother. But when they didn't saw the mother, they arrest two young girls. They are also underage girls, like 7-year-old girl and the 11-year-old girl. They arrest the two girls from the night, and then they put to the, we call Sayapa, it's also military prison. So in the morning, I heard the case, and then I also went to in front of the military prison, and then I just requested to meet with my client, but they say that they don't have any right to present a lawyer, and then they don't have any right to meet with outside their family, and we cannot support the food, water, and the clothes. We cannot make even. So what is happening inside? No one knows that because they don't allow any right currently. So no one really knows that. After they detain for more than 24 hours for a week, and then they release their two girls. And the two girls reply that what is happening inside of this military prison. It's what no one can arrest before beyond all 24 hours, but they already conduct. But where is the action to take that kind of violation? I also already in what I want to say that the rule of law system in the every law is already broken in Myanmar. The military government, they already violated all of the rights of the people of Myanmar. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, AMT. This has been really, really disturbing and tragic to hear what is going on. Yeah, as you said, young children are targeted, being attacked and killed, and lawyers are targeted, and the detainees are deprived of their legal rights to have legal counsel at this point, and it's really tragic, and women are being brutally arrested. Thank you for highlighting that, without even female police officers present, and they've been, they have repealed these laws, the privacy laws, citizen protections and privacy laws that allow them to detain people more than 24 hours without and arrest people without warrant. So everything has been really, really disturbing, and thank you for sharing your observations and insights. Now I would like to turn into our third speaker, Moneli. Our third speaker, Moneli, has worked for the Kachin Women's Associations Thailand for 18 years, and she was a former general secretary at the Women League of Burma, and currently holding the positions of advocacy officers and spokesperson. She's also part of the Transnational Justice Network Asia and Network of Human Rights Documentations Burma, and currently one of the advisory board of the Women League of Burma. So, Moneli, your organization, Court, has been working on the violence against women and other human rights violations in Myanmar, human rights violations by the Myanmar military for decades. Now, as you hear violence, brutality against women, rape threat, how do you feel? Can you speak the role of ethnic women's organizations playing in the resistance to the military, and what support it needed for this work? If you can also briefly talk about the recent escalations of violence, military offensive in ethnic communities such as Kachin's Northern Sham State and Karan State, in addition to the urban warfare the military is waging. So yeah, can you speak to your concern in this regard?
Thank you, Wewe. So thank you so much. Now it's nearly 2 months that military coup happened in our country, in Burma. So when we look back to the this situation, it is very related to the 2008 constitution. So in that constitution, so-called democratic civilians government we have, but actually the military still, more power than the civilians government. So that's why every time we are talking about that, military can call anytime because they are, the power is they holding. So that's why it is, now this current situation is really bad. And when we look to the human rights violation, now that is, various kind of human rights violation happen in the ground, and atrocity that committed by the military, including the police. So this kind of the situation is happening not only in Kachin area, but also across country. So we are really, concerned, and it is really scary situation happen in Burma. So before, in the 1st of February, that military coup happened. At that time, most of the ethnic people are just looking like, oh, what happened in the ground, and there is only we thought that it is like a green and red color conflict or something like that, but most of the people are also, already out on the street and also raise up their voice and, doing a demonstration and to releasing this their leader, including Aung San Suu Kyi. But this kind of demonstration is not only happen in the urban area like Rangoon or Mandalay, but after then there is already, expand into the more than 300 township in Burma across country, that kind of demonstration happening, because all of, including the ethnic minority, including the Kachin and also Karen, or also all of, the people are long times ago we are facing this kind of, the under the military regimes we are living. It's a very difficult situation, and also, facing a lot of human rights violation that committed by the military. So that's why we have our common target is to against the military dictatorship. So that's why all of this, our not only Burmese people, but also the other ethnic people are now we have our common goal. So that's why now we have to destroy this military power to against, the military dictatorship. It is really important to stand up together and we're unitedly for doing this thing. So that's why, we are now very united for doing this kind of the demonstration and, speak out about what we really want and in our country. So I also want to share of the root cause of the conflict. It is also really important to know the people why this our, long civil war happened in Burma. So there is, as you may know, there is the first peace agreement in the world, like in Burma. So we call the Panglong Agreement. It is very important to form the Union of Burma. So as our Kachin people is also based on that Panglong Agreement, we are together to form this, the Union of Burma. So, but the central, the government are never follow in that agreement. So that's why all of ethnic people are holding their arms for fight against to the central governments, that for unfair policy and also Burmalization, and they want to control and they want to grab all of the things from the ethnic people. So that's why we are fighting for freedoms and self-determination and also federal democracy. Until now, we have to fight because the military, the current military, they are never changing their system and their policy. Since 62 is also the first military coup happened in Burma. So they are now the same things happen and under that General Min Aung Hlaing decade. So it is really important. I also want to share here about our Kachin experience. Before 1994, in 1994, the Kachin Independent Army, Kachin Independent Organization are signing the ceasefire agreement with the military regimes. The first, ceasefire agreement. So in that situation, I mentioned. I also want to mention about the how the military are take over in our Kachin areas. Before 1994, that is only 24 battalions are already working in our base in Kachin area. After 1994 ceasefire agreement, there is more than that, So more than 50 battalions are already deployed in our Kachin area. And then after 17 years of ceasefire agreement, the military are broke this ceasefire agreement in 2011. So after this 2011, the wars happened again in the Kachin area. Now there is more than 200 battalions are deployed in our Kachin area. So that's why it is really dangerous for the people, especially for women and girls. So we are, never safe to, live at home or go to the farm or go to market or anywhere. It is we are not, and also, for the girl who are school girl also not safe for going to school. There is a lot of sexual violence happen, and for the young women. So so we long time we are facing a lot of human rights violation happen in the Kachin areas. So war crimes happening and crimes against humanity, and all, including the sexual violence that seriously happen in, especially in the conflict area. So that's why when we look to this, long war happen in our area, we are really worried for the people, especially women and children, girls, because they are the most vulnerable people for this, the war, civil war happened in our country. So now that is increasing the IDP number. On other hand, there is ongoing fighting because of the military are sending a lot of troops to that area, not only the Kachin area, but also the northern Shan state. So that's why they are, they are using as the same policy, like when they are attacked to the Kachin arms group, they are, target to the Kachin civilian. So that's why when they are, fighting between the Kachin Independent Army and the military, Burmese military, the military are just, shooting and target to the civilians by shelling, to the village and, to attack to the civilians. So this kind of thing is the same pattern happen in not only in Kachin, in Karen or other in Rakhine State and Rohingya in the Rohingya area, or all ethnic areas. They are using this kind of the same policy, the same pattern, the same impunity. So that's why we are uh, really concerned on this situation, because we are feel this thing a long times already. So current the military code is also, it is unbelievable, and also unacceptable, this kind of the violence brutally happening in ground. So now the people, civilians, are not safe anymore, and at nighttime or daytime, they are just most of the human rights defender and activists, and they who are working with the community member, they are also in hiding. Some are hiding in jungle, and some are fleeing to or other place, or move around. That this kind of thing is we are facing. So we are really concerned on this situation, especially for women and girls. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Moneli, for bringing us to the reality, and for describing all these years-long human rights violations, repeated human rights violations, and cycles of abuses by the military, by the Myanmar military in ethnic areas, and it's been very inspiring, insightful. As I mean, today with the coup situations, with the SSS, we have like this tragic nightmare-like situations after the coup. Sometimes people often forget that, since we're very uh, into into the, how do we say that, into the response to responding to the coup situations, sometimes we'll tend to forget the patterns and the systems and the cycles of abuses that committed by the Myanmar military. So we appreciate for bringing us to this reality. So I would, so now I would also, I would like our audience to say that we actually have a special guest today, since Mame U, our other speaker, couldn't join. We asked our special guest to provide her observations on the situations. Our special guest is Khin Ohmar. I'm sure many of you know her very well. She's a well-known human rights advocate and democracy leader. She was a revolutionary. She was a student leader and student uprising leader in 1990. Students uprising, 1988 student uprising. She was one of the leader at that time, and since then she has been exiled, and lived in the US and studied in the US and back to the border, and started her different initiatives and organizations, including the being a founding member of Women League of Burma and Burma Partnership, now Progressive Voice. So she's chair of the board of the Progressive Voice now, and many of you are no stranger to her. I would like to bring her now with the questions that which is related to what Moneli has shared with us. So it seems like the history is repeating. Now we are back to the same situations in 25 years ago, or even 60 years ago. So, Khin Ohmar, why do we think we are here again? And based on your perspective, and working on this field, doing advocacy for justice and accountability and democracy for Myanmar, what is your observations and why we are here again? And also touch upon, the movement, what does this movement give you some hope in compared to the pro-democracy movement in the past?
Thank you, Wei. Thank you for having me. And I'm very pleased to be sort of replacing my other sister, my current sister, Nomeu, who I go back many years with Nomeu in advocating for free Burma in 1990s in United States and 2000s as well. So I just want to share a few points, like Wei asked me, like, why are we here? Why this cycle, the vicious cycle of violence? So before I say that, I just want to share very quickly that in my 30 years of human rights activism, 32 years, and there also the advocacy work at the international and regional for many years. I noticed also something that, this whole, I think it's like more than notice really, right? Because what we're dealing is this entrenched impunity by this military, the same military that committed the crimes against the Karen people back in 1990s. And this is the same military committed the crimes against humanity and war crimes against the Shan community, Shan people, also back in 1990. So what we're seeing is this decades of pattern of behavior and the attitude of this military that they have passed on from generation to generation without being held accountable at no time in the history of our country. I think this is something that we need to really like stress. And like in the past, before 2010, before Myanmar, Burma was open to the world, of course, it was under the complete darkness, under the complete iron fist of the military regime. So like organizations like Panelists organization, the Kachin Women Association Thailand, and the other organizations, they have tried so hard to address the issue of justice and accountability from outside the country, bringing all the cases to the United Nations, and also campaigning, across the world. But because the country was sealed off, we didn't have a chance to address this military impunity. But then when the country opened up 10 years ago, yes, it was absolutely, of course, the military, the same military that we're seeing committing the day and night atrocities against the civilian in the country right now, even in these urban and city areas. We know that this same military who orchestrated the whole political landscape, taking charge of the country's politics as well as the economy, also given a little bit of a little bit of space, sort of, let's say, we say power sharing, it's not really even power sharing, but it's just sort of like giving that space to the civilian side to be a part of their quote unquote disciplined democracy, where they hold disproportionate power. So in that, my point here now that I want to raise is, why are we here? Why are we back here? There is this little space that we got in the last 10 years. In spite of being small, I think there was a chance for us as civil society or democratic opposition or democratic forces to push that envelope. That envelope is to hold this military to account, to end their impunity, which is something we were not successful, or we didn't give it a priority to address. In the name of national reconciliation. So in the name of this national reconciliation, where the civilian democratic civilian government took path along with the ethnic armed organizations, engaging again and again into this unsubstantial, or I would say a very facade dialogue for peace negotiations, which led us nowhere. In fact, the last 10 years of peace industry made some individuals and the military even much richer with the international money. But at the end, the peace was not able to be attained because we are facing this very ruthless, most brutal military with non-compromising position, non-negotiable, non-compromising. Knowingly, many people jump on the wagon, including the international actors, these peace donors from different parts of the world, from the EU and other countries, everybody like supported this peace for peace. At the end, what are we seeing here? The police who are killing the people on the street now, being being trained by the EU, yeah. So now here, why are we here? It's because there were a time when everybody who should be listening to the people on the ground, who speak the truth, who fight for their basic rights, who fight for justice and accountability, have been sidelined, marginalized, as if these are the cynical people. So the people who really represent the victims of these violent atrocities by the same military, including the people of of the Rohingya community, never had a chance to be a part of the policy making. I think that is a huge mistake that civilian government, as well as the international donors, made that. I'm not blaming here. This is not nothing about blaming. It's more about learning the lessons that is not long ago yet, while we are facing the very current crisis. I mean, if the world acted 3 years ago, right after the genocide against the Rohingya, if the civilian government took the side with the most vulnerable, persecuted Rohingya people, took the side with the truth and the justice, we could have prevented the crisis that we are facing today. I think this is the point I think I just want to raise. I think I know I don't want to take much of the time, but myself being an activist, but also I play many roles in the democracy movement for Burma. I work with the ethnic women sisters. I work with the youth organizations, human rights groups, but also I myself, partly being a feminist women human rights defender, I had my own time meeting with the survivors of the military, the rape and gang rape from different ethnic communities, different ethnic communities. My initial first encounter face to face, hearing the heartbreaking stories of the ethnic sisters was back in 1998. That was a long time ago. And my last encounter with the ethnic women who were raped by the same military was 2018. That's with the Rohingya sisters in Bangladesh. Now, my last conclusion point that I want to raise is when I see these military and police enjoying so much of the killing and torturing, terrorizing the civilian in the country right now as we speak, I see many young women are being detained. Many young women are being arrested and detained. And I hear the stories about the families not knowing where their young daughters are. That gave me a freaking out feeling, seriously. Knowing of the behavior of these thuggish gang, I am scared for these young women As much as I'm scared for the women in the ethnic conflict areas, I'm scared for the women who fall in the hands of these barbarians. I think the whole point here is we need to cut this impunity by this military. We need to end their entrenched blanket impunity. And I think this is the only way, is to refer Myanmar situation to the International Criminal Court, along with the two other major actions that we need from the international community and United Nations. One is to impose global arms embargo. Two, impose targeted sanctions against the military and military's businesses. And the very third, again, I will repeat, is refer Myanmar situation to the ICC. That's the only way that we're going to hold this military to account. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mauma, for your very strong analysis on how the lack of accountability and the impunity for the military has brought us here today, bring the whole country to the nightmare, the whole country to at risk of atrocity crimes. And it is no longer Rohingya women or ethnic communities who are in danger or at risk of atrocity, violence, atrocity crimes, but it is now the whole country. Thank you so much for your observations and your insights. Important point here. And I recently talked to WPN has actually conducted a few meetings with the women in Bangladesh, a few focus group discussions with the women victims and survivors in refugee camps in Bangladesh. The coup has actually meant impacting them in so many ways. It is for them, the coup, the military coup, is re-traumatizing by seeing the military brutality against the civilians, seeing the soldiers attacking people, assaulting women. It's re-traumatized them, and also it's disheartening to see, to witness, to continue to witness the military that committed committed many forms of horrific violence, violations against against them, have been enjoying impunity and continue to be emboldened to carry out such a larger scale atrocities nowadays. It's obviously become very, very widespread and systematic today. The abuses and the violence attack against peaceful protesters, against the members of civil disobedience movement, has become very systematic, very deliberate and widespread. Thus, we are now at risk of more danger, violations of international crimes, as such crimes against humanity. So I would like to remind the audience that we have someone special to provide a closing remark for these sessions. We have Dr. Karen Smith, the UN advisor to the special advisor to the United Nations Secretary General on responsibility to protect. We will hear from her at the end of the sessions. Before that, I would like to give the audience, I would like to address the questions raised asked by the audience. We will have questions and answer sessions for about 15 minutes. Then we will have a closing remark we'll turn back to the perhaps panelists for their last words, and then we will have the closing remark by the Dr. Karen Smith. So our first questions will be from Kimberly Bajet. So the questions is around, can you speak more about Tamado's use of violence against minorities in Burma currently and in the past? I think we have addressed a little bit around on that questions by the panelists, but any panelists want to address that questions? If not, we can go to the next question. So the question is, can you speak more about the Tamado's use of sexual violence against minorities in Burma currently and in the past? Perhaps Moneli want to address the question?
Yes, before when I speak, I already mentioned a little bit, but this sexual violence is, military using as a weapon of war. So it is really dangerous for all of the ethnic minority people. Now, in the current situation, they are also still, want to using this kind of the weapon of war. Because yesterday we heard that the soldier is, go around the street and then shouting that they will be raped, their daughter in front of their parents, or if there is no daughter, they will be raped to the wife in front of the husband or something like that. They are shouting on this, on the street. So that's why this kind of they're using as a weapon of war. It is really dangerous. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mamonelli, for highlighting that. Yes, military has used rape as a weapon of war systematically in the past. That has been documented by the many human rights organizations, United Nations, and fact-finding missions themselves, United Nations fact-finding missions themselves. And now again they are posing threat against the female protesters and women in general. Yesterday the soldiers came to the cities, townships in Yangon and shouted, as you said, that their goals, the women will be raped, their daughters will be raped. If daughters are not available, their wives will be raped. And these are actual threat, and it's in many forms. It's coming, and the systems of the use of sexual violence is still there with impunity, and they continue to use this even in the main city publicly. And this is very, very concerning situations. And our second question is from a second question is around Ohmar Khin. What is the best way to support you from outside the country? I think, from Europe, or the questions is around what outsiders or from people from the Europe and US can support you guys. Anybody want to address?
Yeah, it is a really good question for us, because currently we are really need this kind of the supporting from outside. So please continue support to the young people movement, including the CSO and also women group. Through, we also have our umbrella organization, and also you can also support to the group who are already based in the border area. Yes.
Yeah, I think, thank you. And also the questions is around Esther, directed to Esther directly, whether she is safe or not, and what support they can provide to you. And of course, Esther and AMT is on the ground now in the leading the protest. So yeah, if you guys have any recommendations or any thoughts on how people can support you.
Hi.
Hi, Esther.
I started this movement from the platform called EGM.
I think you're frozen. Are you there? I think we can't hear you now. Yeah, good. Now good.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Connection is quite bad. A movement called Anti-Gender Mass Movement, which also has a direct cooperation with the GSCN, Genocide Committee of Nationalities. And in our movement, movement committee, we have a separate duties, and now I take the role as a security for my colleagues and comrades. So the critical issue that we are facing now is safe places, and also the shields, the protection shields, like which really can protect the guns, real bullets. I mean, we have the shields which can prevent the rubber bullets, but not the real bullets. So that is what we are currently needed most, because as you already know that already might know that there are already altogether nearly 500 of fallen heroes right now in Myanmar, and also most of them are from Yangon. Most of the personage are from Yangon. So it means that Yangon is at really high risk, and also we need the those kind of protection and shields and helmets which can protect the real bullets. And we have to continue the strike, even though we know that we can be, it is very terrifying, and we can be shot by guns and we can die. We know that case, but we have to continue, because this must be the last battle of us, and also to continue the CDM movement, the strikes have to be continued, and at least for next 1 or 2 months we have to continue the strikes, because the CDM movement is stop. It is targeting to stop the change of the government system, and to stop the government system, it has to be it needs motivations, and the strikes give the CDM movement to be powerful. So the CDM movement and strikes are giving power to each other. That is why we cannot stop the strikes too. So on the other hand, we are also preparing the more safe techniques and also the strategies. We still have to continue the strikes. So the most needed is the security equipment and protection equipment that we are needed most on ground, and also we need the financial support for the safe house and safe transportation, because we need some preparation for the most for better strategies. So that is what we are needed now. And yes, the CDM and strike are what young people and what we really can do on the ground. And for the international community, I would like to request that to speak out more for the ICJ process. And yes, as Mark and Ohmar already mentioned in previous conversation, the ICJ must be the only way that can speak out for and put this issue on the international channel. So please speak out more on that issue. I know most of you must have been upset because of the previous scenarios, but right now please look at the Myanmar people, and we are now in this tragedies. And yeah, please speak out for that. And also the second thing I would like to request is to stand against the investors and institutions who are cooperating with Myanmar military gender. So this is what every citizen can do. For example, yesterday I saw the citizen, some of the activists from Korea speak out to the Honda and also the other investment and companies. So that kind of no cooperation movement have to be implemented in the other countries and to stand against the investors or institutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Yes, go
Can
ahead.
I add something? Yeah, just to follow on what Esther said also. I think right now, we really need to stop this violence. And the only way that we can do is with the international intervention. I mean, if you listen to the people on the ground, what they are calling for is responsibility to protect the R2P. And people like us, who've been doing the international advocacy for ages know the dynamics and the debate around the R2P. But the point here is, what I raise is it's about the situation on the ground in Myanmar. It's not about the debate of the R2P, definition and how that can be really, applied or implied. I think what we're calling on is come up with the action to apply the ground. So we as the civil society organizations, including my organization, along with more than 450 organizations, including Weiwei's organization, Moneli's organization, we have called on the Security Council to dispatch a delegation immediately to enhance the monitoring on the ground, but also to stop the violence, to prevent the further atrocities. That's the key point. Stop the violence, prevent the further atrocities. So our cause, we sent 2 letters to the Security Council. We made another a public statement. But what we've seen until now is, including the Secretary General, coming up with statement again and again, condemning the violence again and again. None of these statements do no good for the people on the ground. We need the action. But my question now is also to the Secretary General is, after seeing all of these day and night, 2 months long violence, Mr. Secretary General, what are you doing? Your statements, your condemnation, your press releases it's nowhere near to stop the violence on the ground. Why don't you just come? Why don't you just go to Burma? Why don't you just go to Myanmar? Here is the Secretary General. Why don't you tell, the Secretary General, why don't you tell the Security Council, I must go now. You must dispatch me. Why not? I think that's where, I'm sorry, I'm just so frustrated seeing, young people like Esther talking to all of you. I was in her place, Weiwei kindly introduced me as a leader of the 1988 democracy movement. Let me tell you, there were many leaders, just like these young people. We were all leaders because we want to bring the bright future for ourselves, that time for me, and now for Esther. Me from that older generation, seeing the younger generation going through another cycle of violence under this military, the same military boots. I cannot bear, as much as I really respect all of these young people with their perseverance, commitment, and their creativity and their determination. Here we are, we need to support all we can. We need to help and we need to support the young people of Myanmar who are sacrificing their lives on the street. Back in 1988, nobody saw us on the street when they were killing us, because the country was complete shut out from the world. Nobody saw what they were doing to us. But now, for the last 2 months, the whole world saw what is happening to the people of Myanmar, the young people. So the question now is, after 3 years of genocide, 3 years ago, the genocide against the Rohingya, there is another clearance operation against the whole country. The military is doing. What is the world is doing? What is this United Nations is doing? I think that is where, you know, I am so frustrated with the United Nations at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your sincere calls on the United Nations and the whole country share, you know, your frustrations. We share, all of us share, and perhaps, you know, Karen, we have ambassador here to the Secretary General. Perhaps she will be able to deliver our message to the Secretary General. So I would like to apologize to the audience that we can no longer take questions, as we are very close to the end. Now I would like to turn our floor to the Dr. Karen Smith, but before that, I would like to introduce you formally about her. So Dr. Karen Smith was appointed as a special advisor of the United Nations Secretary General on the responsibility to protect in January 2019. She's currently teaches international relations at the Institute for History at the Leiden University, the Netherlands, and honorary research associate at the University of Cape Town, South Africa, where she was an associate professor in the Department of Political Studies from 2011 to 2017. She has served as a so between 2006 and 2007, she served as the Secretary General for the United Nations Associations of South Africa. Dr. Smith holds a PhD in International Relations from the Stellenbosch University 2005 and has a research focus on the non-Western contributions to the international relations theory, as well as on the changes global order. So Dr. Smith, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Wei Wei. Firstly, I would just like to thank you and the Women's Peace Network for inviting me to provide the closing remarks for this really important event. And I also want to start off by thanking all the panelists for sharing their insights and experiences. I think all of us here today have seen the horrifying images of violence against protesters in Myanmar in recent weeks, but hearing from you is particularly powerful and I think really puts things into perspective. And while we keep saying and hearing that women's leadership and participation are fundamental to all aspects of society, you are putting words into action. And I think each of you exemplifies the role that women can play in using their skills in providing legal assistance, advocating for peace, and ultimately contributing to the prevention of atrocity crimes. I also thought that your stories serve as a reminder of the discrimination and challenges faced by women who actively advocate for human rights by making their voices heard. While all the violence by the military and against the peaceful protesters, is deplorable and should be condemned, in line with the recent statements by the UN Secretary General and UN Women, the targeted and disproportionate violence against women that is being recorded, including killings, arbitrary arrests, and reports of sexual harassment and violence while in detention, is particularly concerning. At the same time, as Moon Nai Lee reminds us, women and children in ethnic areas have faced and continue to face ongoing violence. And while the current spate of systematic attacks against protesters and other serious violations of human rights by the military could constitute crimes against humanity, the current situation is also raising concern about the protection of ethnic and religious minorities who continue to face serious risks, as again Moon Nai Lee emphasized. And as both she and AMT noted, the violence we're seeing in cities like Yangon now is not new to people, especially ethnic minorities living in rural areas. And it's important not to forget the historical context of the current situation. given Myanmar's recent history of the commission of atrocity crimes against the Rohingya and the failure to prosecute those responsible, the risk of future crimes remains high. Here, I'd like to say a few words about the responsibility to protect, also because it's been mentioned today, or R2P, and we've of course seen protesters calling on R2P as well. So maybe just for those of you who are not familiar with the concept, it's a principle that was adopted by all states. And I underline this, it was adopted by all states in 2005 during the UN World Summit. And of course, it refers specifically to the 4 atrocity crimes of genocide, war crimes, ethnic cleansing, and crimes against humanity. Now, while we often hear criticism of R2P that it undermines the sovereignty of states, in fact, you could say that it strengthens the sovereignty of states because it underlines that the primary responsibility to protect populations lies with individual states, because it emphasizes that sovereignty is not just a right, but it's also a responsibility towards the people of states. But as we also know, the international community also has a role to play and has a responsibility when a state fails to protect its own people, or is in fact the actor that is perpetrating atrocity crimes against its own people. And so the responsibility to protect against the risk of atrocity crimes, protecting civilians in particularly, must be done in line with international law. And so the tools available include all of the measures that are set out in the UN Charter. These range from peaceful measures like mediation, fact-finding missions under Chapter 6, to more coercive measures like economic sanctions, arms embargoes, accountability measures, and as a last resort, the use of military force under Chapter 7. And while we have seen some states take action in response to the recent developments in Myanmar, including targeted sanctions against senior military officials, more needs to be done. The UN Security Council in particular needs to take a stronger stand in condemning the state-sponsored violence against civilians and take concerted action. Underlining what Khin Ohmar has said about the history of impunity, perhaps most importantly, the message must be clear that those who are guilty of perpetrating atrocity crimes and have done so in the past will be held accountable. This could, of course, be done through a referral by the UN Security Council to the International Criminal Court. But in the absence of such a referral, there are also other paths to justice. For example, over the past few years, we've seen a number of states starting to pursue cases of international crimes against individuals via their own domestic courts under universal jurisdiction. So the message to the perpetrators should be that they should not rely on Security Council inaction to protect them. When atrocity crimes are being committed or are imminent, coordinated action by a range of international actors, including the UN, but also regional actors and influential states, and the use of a range of different measures is essential. In conclusion, I want to acknowledge the role of the many individuals, particularly the very brave women who have mobilized and are taking action in Myanmar. As Esther emphasized, the military coup is affecting everyone. The diverse and widespread nature of the protest movement is especially encouraging and has the potential to create a sense of unity across ethnic and religious groups, as Moon Lee also emphasized. While the groundswell of protests in Myanmar is extremely important in sending a message not only to the military, it also sends a powerful message to the international community regarding what the people of Myanmar want for their country and their future. The world is watching again, and now it's also time to not only listen, but as Khin Ohmar so powerfully said, learn the lessons from the past and take concrete action. I just want to really thank all of you for giving me a lot of insight about the situation in Myanmar. I will certainly be passing on this message, and I do hope that in the coming weeks, if not days, we will see the international community taking further action to, in the first place, prevent further violence against civilians from happening. Thank you so much again for allowing me to speak, Weiwei.
Thank you very much, Dr. Smith, for your wisdoms and your hopeful message to us. We look forward to seeing further actions from the international communities, states, governments, as well as from the UN Secretary General and UN Security Council. I apologize that I was not able to give the last chance to the speaker to provide their last word. Perhaps maybe I could bring them back if the panelists and speakers, want to provide the last word, if you have any, before we close the sessions. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Karen Smith, because your word is really give encourage to us. Now the outside, the international community are not just looking, so very concrete action plan will come. So we are really happy to hear that, because we are, a lot of things we are doing with the community member, including the safe house now, to help for the the women who been raped and also who come back from the traffic, or all of these women survivor. We are support through our safe house, but now we have to close this safe house. So that's why, how can we support to these women survivors again? So it is also really sad thing to us. And also the another thing is, we really want to end this kind of atrocity again, and to end this kind of the impunity. So we don't want to transfer to this kind of the things that military dictatorship can do everything, they can control everything. This we don't want to see again and again. So they will be transferred to their next generation, next military, So we don't want this kind of things. So we really want justice and sustainable peace in our country. So that's why, if you also really want to support on justice and human rights and sustainable peace our country, please stop working with the military, and please stop supporting to the military. So it is really important for us. So we really want to support to as a not only women group, but also the young people and all of the CSO, and also now CRPH is also trying to form the federal democracy to the federal army. So please support to all of this, including the EAO and all of who are working for genuine peace in our country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Moneli, for very crystal clear message and recommendation. And anyone else, any other speakers want to provide the last word? We apologize that we exceeded a few minutes beyond the sessions. Esther, AMT, I know AMT, this area has been raided by the police right now, and she has to stay quiet. So I think we lost connection to Esther. Perhaps I would just close the sessions by thanking you all. So yes, thank you so much for joining us today. And more importantly, thank you so much to our speakers, panelists, for sharing your thoughts, your wisdoms, your hope, and dream for the future. We look forward to continue these discussions in the future and reconnecting with you soon. In the meantime, we hope that you can continue to call for justice and accountability for the people of Myanmar. So for more information about future plan or activities, please feel free to contact us on social media or to our emails, info@womenspeacenetwork.org. And I would encourage you to directly contact to our panelists if you want to support their work, and if you want to engage with them. And again, feel free to contact us anytime. So for now, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you.